We just got word. This is actually a couple of hours late. This story about Journey, that they've reached sort of an agreement in battle over their name. It was basically Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain against Russ Valerie and Steve Smith, and a lot of people were thinking of why this happened and coming up with theories on what the heck was going on. Let me just read the Rolling Stone version of this. They were talking about plotting an ill-conceived attempt to take over the band's name. March 2020, Journey's Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain fired longtime bassist Ross Valerie and drummer Steve Smith after the latter two allegedly tried to fund their retirement by wresting control of the band's name. Both Neil Sean and Ross Valerie exchanged lawsuits in a battle, blah, blah, blah. Let me go over this. But here's the the statement that was released. Now, Steve Smith and Ross Valerie are not coming back to the band. A lot of people have been asking, oh, does that mean they're coming back to the band? They are not. Because in the statement, they're wishing their former bandmates success and whatever. I'll read it for it. The members of the band Journey, who were parties to recent lawsuits, Danica, can you not play that, please? Put it down. Neil Sean, Jonathan Cain, Steve Smith, and Ross Valerie are pleased to announce that they have resolved their differences and reached an amicable settlement agreement. The band said in a statement. Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain acknowledged the valuable contributions that both Ross Valerie and Steve Smith have made to the music and to the legacy of Journey. Ross Valerie and Steve Smith wish their former bandmates well and much success in the future. Now, of course, they asked him to write that. Journey looks forward to continuing to tour and make new music for their dedicated fans around the world. I love mother statements like that in these kind of things. The basically mother statements. We continue to make great work. It's kind of like when you're fired and then you ask for a letter of reference anyway, and they'll send you something and it'll be like, we wish you the great success. You were a valued employee. And they don't even say that because they got to be careful of lawsuits and stuff. So that's what's happening with Journey. I guess they're not suing each other anymore. It looks like Ross Valerie and Steve Smith were given something in exchange just to let this go and go. You guys go your own way, we'll go our own way, and let's just wish each other well. And they're not going to be able to speak publicly about it. Steve Smith and Ross Valerie will not be able to really give any specifics about this. It's not going to happen. So, and that's probably part of the agreement. And rightly so, as it should be. Might have noticed we released 3 videos today. Get ready for it. It's not that we want to ask too much from you, but the rock world is huge, and you watch what you want to watch, and you ignore. We'll come back to Journey in a second. You ignore the stuff that you don't want to watch, and I would do the same thing. So we have so many interviews in the can. My son Chase is just finishing up Heather Porcaro right now. We had all clipped up, but now we're putting the final interview together. Heather is Steve Porcaro's daughter. So we're putting that together. We just talked to Phil Gould of Level 42. David Knopfler, formerly of Hello. 6 viewers. I know. Well, you got to start someplace. Usually we have hundreds of viewers, but it just depends. So that's kind of what's happening. We just have so many interviews in the can that we kind of have to get to it. You know what I mean? And get them all out. And if it's too much for you guys, watch the stuff that you're interested in. I got to find the YouTube app on here so I can talk to you guys, so I can actually see what's going on. I can check it out, right? So, here we go. I'm here. I found myself. Here we go. Da-da-da-da-da. So that's the deal with Journey. Journey's always got so much drama. They still have Randy Jackson coming back as their bass player. Narada Michael Walden will be their drummer. There's been 2 attempts to get an interview with Narada Michael Walden, and they've fallen through each time. The first time, he just couldn't find the time to do it because he was looking after kids, I guess, and that's okay. So I let it go, and I went, that's okay. He's a legend. He's probably a busy guy. And then the second time, they reached out to me and said, are you still interested in an interview with him? And I went, of course I am. Anytime. Just give me a time. I'll make it work. I'll open up my entire schedule. And they said we'll get back to you, and they never did. So maybe he's just busy. You know, no hard feelings. I mean, he's such a musical legend, and it's kind of cool that they have him in Journey. You know, to have a different and having Randy back. I don't know what his chops are like these days, but I'm sure they're good enough, right, to join Journey. Well, someone was asking me this morning, was Ross Valerie and Steve Smith ever come back to Journey? No, that's done now. And Journey's days, I'm not sure how many years. I'll have to check. I don't know how old Neil Sean is, or Jonathan Cain, but aren't they in their 70s or their late 60s? Actually, let me check. So I mean, I don't know how many years they've got to do what they want to do. So Journey Wiki, let's look it up. I've tried to get an interview. I got an interview with Jonathan Cain, as some of you might remember, a few years ago. It was a really good interview. We had a frank conversation. Talked about it. Even talked about his wife. What's her name? Paula White, who worked with Trump. Okay, Ross. Not Ross. Neil Sean is 67. See, that makes sense. I thought he was in his. And there it is. Narada Michael Walden. And Jonathan Cain is 71. Jonathan Cain, 67 and 71. So I mean, they've got if they choose, they've got quite a few years left to tour and possibly make more money in Journey. And good for them if they want to do it. I was excited about when Journey announced that they were coming back and they were going to do some music, and I was pretty happy with that. Let me just turn this on again. Greetings from Toronto. Really mysterious. Ooh, do you have that? Do you have stuff on your channel that's really mysterious? I'm just curious. I don't know why the notifications don't come up. I've been told by some people there's actually a video on YouTube where the guy says, doing live feeds and notifications, not everyone gets, just a small portion of people get notifications. Danica. She's autistic. She makes a lot of noise. So, anyway, that's it. No, that's not it. I'm still here. We're talking about the drama in the Journey. There's a lot going on there, you know. I talked to Travis Thibodeau, who was their keyboard player a few years ago, and Travis said that I asked him point blank, "Is there a lot of drama?" And this was after, the Trump visit. Hi, John. Happy Easter, Jim Barney, to you and your family. To you too. And Travis Thibodeau said, "No, there's not a lot of drama on the road at all." He said, "I'm not just saying that. There just isn't. It's all kind of." He said it was everyone got along really well. And Travis, who I do believe he was a drummer before, had a great relationship with Steve Smith. I have 3 miles west of where I live, 3 miles west, you probably mean, of where Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson went to high school. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, you corrected yourself. Hi, Lori. Heard they will have 2 lead singers, Arnell and some guy named Jason. Any truth to that? I don't know. I know that Arnell had some problems. He was really working it out there. I'm not sure if that was Travis Thibodeau who told me that, because Travis was singing with them as well. I don't think it was Travis. But Arnell's pushing it out there. Those are hard songs to sing. And it's nothing against Arnell. I reached out to him maybe 2 weeks ago for an interview. I think I'm probably on the naughty list for Journey. I reached out to Neil for an interview, nothing. And when I talked to Jonathan Cain, it was through his publicist. And I'm not sure. I don't think Jonathan knew who I was. So we had a really nice interview. It was he was very blunt and very tasteful interview. He said that hi, Chase. Hi. The editor of Rock History Music, Chase Edwards Beaudin. He the man. How's Heather Picaro coming along? She's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's going all right.
Yeah, Heather's a real nice lady. That's just one of the interviews that got lost in the ether for a little while, because since I've interviewed Heather, we've been bombarded by interviews. We've gotten so much. We're just putting up part 1 of Ian Anderson tomorrow, by the way. where the first two segments are about the 50th anniversary of Aqualung. And we talk about religion, and we talk about, with Ian Anderson, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's not a big fan. Yesterday I talked to David Knopfler, and he did not, for Dire Straits, appear at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as you know. And he said, like, if you want us to go, the tickets to the show are they're crazy. At least pay my way. He basically was saying that. Come on, if you want us to go, I'm not a rich guy, And he did say at one point, there was a conversation where Mark Knopfler says, if David goes, I'll go. But it didn't happen. Today is Jeff Picar's birthday. Yes, I've seen a lot of, Lori, I've seen a lot of stuff the last couple of days. Well, we've had Rick Emmett of Triumph, and he's the main guy. And I have all three guys coming up next month. So if you just look in the channel, on the history of this channel, you'll find, I think there's 10 segments of Rick Emmett. And there's also a few on the Canadian channel, Rock History Canada. Picard was amazing, that's true. Des Lexic, what are they even fighting about? Not enough money? Well, I don't think, Neil Sean has the money, and Jonathan Cain has the money, and Steve Perry has the money. I know Steve Perry's not there. Sometimes people who don't know my channel will go, don't you know Steve Perry's not there? But the people who do know my channel will know that I, of course, know that. So I have to, when we were taking the journalism part of our broadcasting course, they were always reminding us, you're not writing for the super experts. You have to factually say things, and you've got to make the audience think, but at the same time, you can't assume the audience knows, if you're talking about Journey, that Steve Perry's not there. You've got to say it, right? So I still have that in the back of my mind. So Steve Perry wanted Ross and Steve to have some semblance of a retirement. He was in on that, as far as we know. So I'm not sure if Herbie Herbert, I don't know. Someone had said he was. So, and you know what? There's so much bad blood there. I think that they're probably happy they settled out of court. But again, like I was mentioning off the top, for anybody who's just joining us now, that they're probably not going to be able to talk about it. And that's how settlements usually go, right? Okay, I saw Emmett once. He's a good interview, yeah. I've interviewed Rick Emmett 7 times. Ask me tomorrow, I'll say 8 or 6. I've interviewed Rick Emmett quite a few times. I mean, the first part of our interview, I hadn't talked to him in 10 years, it was catching up to when I used to talk to him when he was doing his jazz stuff. Top 40 Hub, Journey, Raised on Radio. I think a great underrated album. I agree. More of a solo record for Steve Perry, though. I never thought that, but Really Mysterious, agreed. Picaro was amazing, yes. And I asked Heather Picaro, I says, a lot of people say the Picaro name differently. And I told her, I says, for the last 10 years at least, I've been saying Picaro. And she says, that's how I say it. And I went, good enough for me. There you go. Again, like the news that Journey was recording new music with Randy Jackson and Narada Michael Walden, I say good for you guys. The news today, though I thought it was an April Fool's joke, and I thought, no, well, that's not an obvious April Fool's joke. You know what I mean? That's not really a wum-dinger, and I thought that's probably not an April Fool's joke. It's got to be real. Because someone at the email, I always get tons of emails when something breaks, right? And I always have to pick and choose, cherry pick on what I'm going to talk about. Journey is a band we've talked about an awful lot. There are a few guys who do what I do who like to talk about Journey every 3 days. And if you're going to do that, unless you're looking at the history and not the future, you're probably making crap up. So I don't talk about Journey that much anymore. There's other guys who talk about Journey a lot more than I do. Wrapped Around Your Finger is you're noticing something on a t-shirt. Before I got into radio, I met the 3 guys, and they weren't very nice. It was an album signing thing at a record store. I think it was Kelly's record store. I forget what it was called. And they just were really rude and flippant, but they were young, and They were probably tired, and who knows what if they were on something. But it was probably my rudest rock star encounter, and I'd only had a few at that point because I hadn't been in radio yet. When you get in radio, you meet a lot of them, and they're usually on their best behavior because they're working. When they're doing interviews, they're working. So most interviews are good because of that. They need you to promote their product, and you need the interview. As I always say, everybody's happy, right? So wrapped around your finger. When Synchronicity came out, I been in radio for a few years, and everyone was playing like almost every track off Synchronicity. Well, on FM radio, not AM radio, but FM. I never met Peter Gabriel. No. I met a lot of people who played with him. Tony Levin, I interviewed. I always say this, but after 9/11, I interviewed Tony Levin, and he was telling me how worried he was about his wife. This is Top 40 Hub. I can't believe that Tease never did Sweet Misery live back in the day. Well, they had a love and hate relationship with Sweet Misery because it really wasn't. I talked to Tease. I think there's a few clips on this channel. I think most of them are in the Canadian channel, Rock History Canada. And they had a love-hate relationship. They talk. I had three of the guys on there, three of the original guys. And they were very blunt about that song. You know, they met the Rolling Stones, and they got into some interesting stuff. LTW. Not everyone can be a Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony. They are the epitome of nice rock stars. They're great interviews. I've never interviewed them, but they're great, fun interviews. Michael Anthony is just a quality guy. I never really liked what happened with him, or for that part, Sammy and Van Halen. Brian Rossiter. Raised on Radio is my favorite Journey album. More slick than the albums before, but the rock solid songwriting musicianship all the way through. It's a good album. Yeah. Again, it's good news. I don't want to read the press release again. Basically, they're saying that Steve Smith and Ross Valerie are wishing the rest of the Journey members well, and they've settled out of court, and we'll never hear what really. I'm sure Steve Smith and Ross Valerie got something for their retirement, and that's good news. They'd have to have something. It's not the other way around. There's only one person paying. It's the big guys paying Steve Smith and Ross Valerie. And we'll never know the amount, nor should we. It doesn't really matter. It's none of our business. But it's good that people are getting along. You know, I know drama sells, and I have there was a channel. I just put up another segment of our Little River Band. Like there's 18 segments to that series because I talked to Glenn Shorrock for an hour. I talked to B. Birtles for an hour. And I talked to Graham Goebel for 3.5 hours. And I have another interview with Graham coming up on Saturday night, which is his Sunday morning because he's in Australia. He's in Melbourne. Because he wanted to talk about some of the albums that are turning 50 this year. I sent him a list. Longer than the list that's surfacing on Facebook. The list is it's long. Because I look at more obscure albums in case some artists want to talk about them. So when I do an interview, before the interview, I'll send them this long list and I'll always say, don't get overwhelmed by the list. But I'm sure there's probably 1, 2, or 3 albums that were released in 71 that are turning 50 this year that you want to talk about. And one of Graham's was Tapestry, by Carole King. He wanted to talk about that. When we talked for 3.5 hours, we never got a chance to really get to the 50-year-old albums. Did I say top 50? I meant albums that are turning 50. So we're going to he says, hey, let's talk again. We enjoyed the conversation. We had a nice rapport going. I loved his thoughts on spirituality, what's up there. I told him that I'm not a religious man at all, but I think no matter what religion you are, you're praying at the same person. Dyslexic, wow, Tease, Top 40 Hub. You really pulled that one out of the relics. Well, they're back together. Tease are back together, and they're hungry to do shows. And I'm really happy for them because I was a big fan of the band, and I had a chance to talk to them for over an hour, all three. I usually like with a band to try, even though it's way more work, try to talk to, and we did this with Pablo Cruz. We had 4 or 5 members on the screen at the same time. And it's like juggling cats because there's always one guy talking and 4 guys bored. not necessarily bored, but they're just hanging around, right? And the people talking the most are the guys who wrote the songs who were there back then. And in this case, there were only two. So there you go. Dyslexic says, I don't think I've given him a second thought since 78. Yeah, I can understand that. I won one of their albums at a radio station contest. I was too shy to phone the radio station when my little brother phoned up, Charles, and we won that album. Oh, you did watch the interview. Thank you, Top 40 Hub. Thank you. Fun interview. A lot of laughs on that. Didn't do as well as I thought, because sometimes when you always want to say, oh my God, you want to watch this video in the title. Don't miss this video. It's the funniest video. But that doesn't reach people, because anybody can say that. They'll think it's clickbait. But there were some nuggets on there, especially when Mick Jagger walked into a room because they were sitting with a VIP, and Mick Jagger just like walked in, and they were at this lobby of this nice hotel. And I mean, really, you're just like a Canadian rocker. You've had moderate success. You don't look at yourself as a rock star, but you're rocking. And that happens. And it's moments like that where you look at it and you go, it's all worthwhile. You know what I mean? I wonder if Ross Valerie and Steve Smith are wondering that today. Of going, all that was worthwhile, because legally it would have cost them some money. And in the end, they would have gotten something out of it. And it releases the steam a little bit. There's that tension is something that some people who do what I do, they love to talk about. I always say, listen, if someone's biting heads off chickens and eating them on stage, I'm going to report on that, because that's ridiculous. But I don't, and anyone who knows our videos, we don't, I don't go fishing for stuff like that. When I talked to David Knopfler, for instance, yesterday, he was very forthright. I mean, I mentioned to him, like, it's like the Davies brothers and the Gallagher brothers in Oasis. There's a lot of tension when you're playing in a rock band with your brother. And remember, David Knopfler was only on the first two albums. He was on Making Movies, but then he had left, and then they redid his part. I'm not sure why they did that. Probably tension between him and his older brother. And David Knopfler used to be a writer in Dire Straits before we all knew who Dire Straits were. And there's a famous clip online where I think their manager talks about the goings on, what happened between David and Mark Knopfler in the studio, where David would say something and Mark Knopfler would just say, shut up, shut up, shut up. And he says there was a whole bunch of shut ups. And I wanted to talk to David about that, but I completely lost my train of thought. But we talked about the relationship with him and his brother. And it was encouraging to hear that Mark Knopfler said to whoever was organizing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or a manager, that if David goes, I'll go. And then they wouldn't pay his costs or anything. Well, they're also probably careful not to set precedent, because if they're not paying anybody's costs, then they don't want to start doing it, because all of a sudden they'll make a lot less money. Right. And they will. Why is my thing going? Right. Okay. There's a message here. Rock and roll politics sucks on a lot of levels. I can't swear. You can swear. I can't swear. Yeah, that's true. He had an antique show. I forget what it was called. I never knew about it till I interviewed him. Barry Bowman. Sting sang on Money for Nothing. He did. Money for Nothing. Yeah. I can't sing. Don't pretend to. Yeah, Sting, like I said, was probably the rudest celebrity I ever met. And if I met him today, I think he's probably one of the nicest celebrities I'd ever met, because he was young and it was just too much going on back then. Like, we were going, oh my God. Imagine another week gone where we are again, hello all, Marty Martin. Yeah, another week. I've been saying to a lot of people, just get ready for a lot of videos. We have 3 today that's already been released. Ian Anderson starts tomorrow. We'll have 3 videos released tomorrow, not of Ian, but just one of Ian. And as you notice now with our series, we release a video every 3 days. Sometimes every 4 days, because if there's a slot when we're looking on the calendar and going, oh, that day doesn't have well, let's go 4 days because that day doesn't have any interviews. And then we start slotting them on an actual calendar. And with Phil Gould of Level 42, more of Tower of Power, that series will probably go to 12 parts. But again, every 3-4 days. Not every week anymore. We don't want to wait once a week. It's just too much for the audience to wait that long. And we're making every segment around 8 minutes, average. Okay, Alex, 2084. Being in bands for 30 years, I know how personal disputes can escalate. The biggest problem I've dealt with was whispers influencing bandmates. The band is only good because of you. Oh, yeah. And it's hard to ignore that, right? Again, when I was talking to David Knopfler yesterday, he was saying, oh my God, we were young. We were so young back then. We were all like, give a 20-year-old or even a 25-year-old, or when it comes to men, sometimes men don't mature until their 30s, where not every woman is a sexual object or not. We've talked about this on this channel. There are young men. I in my 30s, I didn't take a massage course. I was doing massage because my show became automated. And I went, it's great. It takes me 15 minutes to record my radio show, but I've lost half my wage. And I went, I got to do something else. So I thought, I'll take a massage course. I've always been interested in doing that. Then one of my friends said, you can make money doing that. I'm going, I don't know if I want to massage people. So I wasn't ready. And then my friend took the course, and then she said, you should do this. She said, I'm making really good money doing this, especially in Vancouver. I was living in Vancouver at the time. And I thought about it. I'm going, I'm not ready. She says, why aren't you ready? I said, because I'm not sure if a really hot babe comes in, that's going to influence how I feel. All right. Am I going to just do an extra good job on, and it was a legitimate massage, nothing funny. So I don't need those jokes. And then one day I realized, I don't look at all women as either being a sexual object or not. I've grown up. I must be a man now, and then I took the course. And so when rock stars are young, sometimes they'll dismiss someone who is not their type or a sexual object. They'll just go, yeah, I'm going to be nicer to that fan over there. And everyone has a little of that, and I understand that. But as a person who massaged people who were practically naked on a chair, I couldn't live with myself. I was going to do that. William Bowers. Love LRB and your interviews. I want Hall & Oates, Dennis DeYoung. I've tried with Dennis DeYoung. If anybody knows Dennis DeYoung, give him a call. Say John Beaudin, Rock History Music. He's got a good channel. We are a successful channel. We can certainly say we've been a successful channel on YouTube. Your interviews are great. Thank you, William. What's next? I have one interview slotted. I've got a lot that I haven't put up yet. I've only got one interview slotted right now, and that's Graham Goebel on Saturday night, his Sunday morning, because he's in Melbourne. And I have a lot that we're working on right now. Like I tried to get, the 2 remaining Monkeys. They've got projects, nothing back. I might get Kenny Loggins and Olivia Newton-John in the next 2 months. There's Triumph coming up, all 3 guys. I'm trying to get them to do it separately because I get more, instead of having a 1-hour interview where every guy talks for 25 minutes or 20 minutes, I could get 3 interviews and I've got 3 hours of interview, right? As opposed to 1 hour and 20 minutes of each guy. So we're 25 or whatever. Access, 2084. The band I was back in 1989 almost got signed, but Whispers destroyed the band months before 2 record companies found out where we were. Oh, really? Wow. Remember Paul McCartney said, there was an obscure interview he did. He said the greatest bands in the world will never be heard because she got pregnant, dad died, he broke his leg, he became an addict, whatever. Something happened where that band never got the chance. Can you imagine the tapes, even the rough tapes of some of the greatest songs of all time, most of them are crap, I know, will never be heard because the guy didn't have the confidence. Something happened. He never met a great guitar player to play with him. But that's life. That's in every profession. That's life, and but he was insinuating Um, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that guy. I'm not going to mention him anymore. William Burroughs, I'm not a fan of his at all. Top 40 Hub. Hey, John, if you asked Graham about the Vancouver TV special that they did in 79, I asked him about that. I think it was you that asked me about. I asked him, and he says, I don't think it was recorded. And at first, I said, so you don't remember it? And I'd have to think about it. I think he said, I don't remember it being recorded for a TV show. He says, I remember the concert, kind of. I asked Glenn Shorrock, their singer for many years. I said, why did you guys cancel in Edmonton? And I wrote down the year. I had to ask my ex-boss what year it was. And he says, I don't know. I don't remember. I have no idea. I said, because you guys canceled a few shows. I think Calgary was canceled, and I lived in Edmonton at the time, and he didn't remember. He said, I don't know. I should ask Graham. I've communicated with Graham multiple times since our interview. Multiple times. My computer's there. That's why I'm staring at it. Shut up and take all my money. Olivia's a really good interview. She doesn't do long interviews. Top 40 Hub. Oh, yeah. It was recorded. Well, I'm sure it was, but he didn't remember. You have the audio. Oh, God. Graham might want to hear that. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. The Brothers Johnson. Another one, Strawberry Letter. What was it, 23? What was it called? It's been years since I heard it. I remember when that keyboard part that comes in the middle. I remember staring at because I didn't expect it in the middle of the song. And I kept going, do that again, but they never did. And I remember going, wow, that is so cool. Strawberry Letter 23, what was it called? Have you interviewed Ray McGuire? It's R.A., by the way. That's how he spells it. That would be great. My first interview in radio was Ray McGuire. Very first interview, 1983. I wish I could find the picture. I was so nervous. There's a picture of us sitting in the third, I don't remember what we called it, the third interview room, I think we called it. It was just a spare room with 2 microphones and a table. That's all that was in it. And he looks pissed off. He wasn't. He just looks bored. I have the interview downstairs. It's on reel though. I'd be scared to listen to it because back then I interrupted the person way too often. I was just so chatty Cathy. Oh my God. But back, yeah, Strawberry Letter 23. Thank you, Dyslexic. Richie Blackmore. I've tried a few times. I've even said, well, I interview both Richie and Candace. Man, she's a beautiful woman. Oh, I just got to say it. I remember the first time I saw her, I had an ex-girlfriend that kind of looked like her. I remember thinking, what's my ex-girlfriend? But I thought, no, my ex-girlfriend's be too old now. She wouldn't look like that. I mean, she probably looks great, but she wouldn't look like that. Yeah, I love their music. I love that kind of minstrel music. Hello, John and Rock family. Well, yeah, we all work together. We kind of. Is Candace pushing 50? Well, my wife Shannon's pushing 50. No, she's not pushing 50. She is 50. Shannon is 50. Shannon doesn't look her age. Alex Lifeson or Steve Howe? Well, as much as I love, I don't know, Alex Lifeson. I'd have to say Alex Lifeson. But I don't do those things, right? I don't do those. Pete Pardo might do those. I don't know. I like Pete Pardo a lot. Like his stuff, Seeing Tranquility. I don't will take, some guy did it. It might not be Pete. Genesis Live, the Peter Gabriel one versus Yes Songs, I think it was. And I can't compare those. I can't compare albums like that. It's so apples and oranges for me. But if someone does a video and it's successful and it's well thought out, and Pete's videos are well thought out, really well thought out. So Olivia was my first crush Well, no, Marsha Brady. Oops, sorry. Marsha Brady. What was her name? Maureen McCormick. Oh, Susan Day of the Partridge Family. You know, Karen Valentine. Oh, you remember Access 2084. But isn't that Shanny Poohead? You remembered that. I like when people do that. Thank you. Because he's Canadian? No. I don't think. I interviewed Dylan Howe, Steve's drummer son, who also played with Yes, and Lee Harris, who I just interviewed, who was in Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets. He knows Dylan and says quite nice things about him. Dylan's an amazing drummer. Amazing drummer. You know, I know these bands who have been there a long time, like the Alan White thing. I know Alan can't do what he could do before, and Alan would be, and I interviewed Alan White and Bill Bruford, his predecessor. And Bill retired because Bill couldn't, you know, what he had in his head wasn't coming out anymore, you know, and he had told me that. So, well, why'd you retire? And Alan certainly can't do what he could do before, but they have drummers that come in there, and Alan just does, you know, some of the more basic drumming. He's still got chops. He's Alan White. Alan gave me some great quotes about working with John Lennon and drumming on Instant Karma. It was such an honor to talk to him. It was hard to talk to understand him because he has that. It's not his fault. When some people get old, they kind of sound like this, you know, and you can't decide you're going to be like that or not. And Alan White has that kind of older man delivery. So, and he mumbles a little bit when he talks, but I was loving every moment of it because it was Alan White. I went, man, we're going to talk about John Lennon. It's all on the channel, the whole interview. It was only 20 minutes long. And he had to go because he had another Genesis 77 live album. Yeah, seconds. Access 20. John, I'm a lifetime professional wise ass, of course. It's always Marsha. Yeah. Well, I just started following Jan. What's her name? Eve Plum. She's always selling. She sells a lot of stuff, but see, it's funny how she's quite a beautiful woman, you know. And I mean, what's beauty anyway? What's you know? I hate to sound cliche, but if you care about someone, you'll see their beauty, right? Really enjoyed your Steve Lukather and Joe Williams. There's still a few clips coming up. How about Pat Travers? I've reached out to a few older rockers who were never in the mainstream, like mainstream, and heard nothing. And I'm not sure if we reached out to Pat Travers. Pulsar Lights. Apparently drummers have major arthritic issues as they age from years of drumming. Yeah, we were talking about Bill Bruford and yeah, I think that, and Alan White, that's certainly something to consider. Look at Phil Collins, the ultimate example of someone who, I think, was it Phil who said he had bad posture, or was other people who said it? I think Phil himself said he had bad posture. I know Chase, who's, you know, quite an accomplished drummer and has been since he was like 9, he used to practice hours, not as much anymore, but he's still amazing. I heard him drum yesterday. He told me himself, he says, boy, Phil's got bad posture, looking at old videos. No, Top 40 Hub, I didn't watch the special. But it's also a lot of those fix-it people, they get on my nerves. You know, to be really honest, like who are those Property Brothers? One guy's the twins, one guy's got a beard and a mustache, and the other guy, I can't watch those guys for more than 5 seconds. And again, they could be the nicest guys in the world. And all the builders seem to be married to like blonde wives. You know, the guy's got no hair and his wife looks like a 10. And but people say that about me and Shannon. They look at us together and go, he must have money, even though she makes way more than me. Yeah, pretty lucky guy. But I don't know why I stopped watching things because then they'll always, it's almost like they're telling one of them, the man or the female, to be the whiny one and create false drama. Oh, we'll never get it done in time. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And every single week it's done in time and it's sold and they make a profit of $45,000 to $100,000 or whatever. And after a while, I'm just going, yeah. But then the guy who says that, I watch Hallmark Christmas specials. So I'm full of crap. Peter Criss has a lot of shoulder and joint problems. This is from Access 2084. On top of the breast cancer he kicked. Yeah, wow. Fuckleberry Hound. Oh, you. YouTube search, Journey Through Time. Excellent shows. You win. You win. That's funny. Paul Star Lights, I'm not going to say that again. I'm going to demonetize this video. Today is Ronnie Lane's birthday. April 1st, 1946. Barry Bowman, Jonathan, and Drew Scott. I'm not sure what you're saying. Dean's an amazing singer. Did you see that stuff? I'm not going to say your username again. You see that stuff he does in his car? Wow. I know. I think I discovered he could sing maybe only last year. William Bowers, Mammoth. Yeah, Wolfgang Van Halen is kicking it. I like his stuff. Somebody was complaining that it sounded like Nickelback. It has a little, that song you released like 6 months ago or whenever it was, it had a slight Nickelback feel to it, but I really like the song. And I don't hate Nickelback. I would never go and buy an album by Nickelback, but I don't hate them. Top 40 Hub. I watch them Hallmark shows too, John. Bertram Lafarge. Well, it's been one hell of a, yeah. So, fill in the blank, guys. Well, he says it's been one hell of a year. What do you think, Chase?
Yeah, no, a year. I was going to say a year too.
Yeah, Chase is our editor-in-chief. Are you editor?
Chief. No, you're the chief here.
Yeah. Chief of what? We've kind of gotten off topic like we always do. Nice shirt, John. Thank you. I bought it at Winners. I got that and Genesis. Toots, you're right. I go through that all the time. I usually go through it when I'm doing my radio show downstairs for Vancouver. Like I was playing Tom Petty the other night, and I remember thinking, man, almost every time I play Tom Petty, I'll stop and I'll go, wow, he's dead. And Tom Petty was not in my tier one ever. I saw Tom Petty once, loved it. But, through the years, you just go, man, just when you think he's done, because a lot of his stuff in the early days kind of had a similar feel, then he'd slightly tweak it and we're going, wow, still sounds like him, but yeah, I kind of like that. It's almost like it expanded a little bit. And then he brought it back, to a tighter thing. I just love this stuff. But again, I'd never name him in my top 10 of singers. I rock with Dean myself. Right on. Michael Daly. The Alex Harvey Band. No, I don't. I know the name. That's it. Top 40 Hub. I saw the Police 3 times, including once at the LA Forum. Cool. I only saw them for the Zenyatta Mondatta tour. The day I met them, I was driving a 73 Camaro with a vinyl roof. That's the only thing I hated about the car. It had a vinyl roof. I hate vinyl roofs. It was blue. So on the way there in Edmonton, we had our first snowfall. It was in the fall, of course. And I was trying to get into the right lane from the left lane to turn, and I bounced off the curve and hit the car beside me. So just the back corner was damaged, and I managed to hit a truck, so it didn't damage his. He kept apologizing, even though it was my fault. Then, so we went off and met the police, and that night coming back from Northland Coliseum, where the Oilers won all those Stanley Cups, my girlfriend, soon-to-be wife at the time, Lynn, rear-ended someone, and then the person hit us from behind, so we were kind of smashed. And we totaled the car. Loved that car. I mean, I wouldn't have it now anyway. I wouldn't have kept it. I wouldn't have the foresight to have kept that car. But 73 Camaro was nice. I had a 78 Trans Am as well, a gold one. It had gold funky chicken on the hood. Yes, it did. I saw Petty 5 times, top 40 hub, in my top 2 artists. Oh, cool. Toots, John. Oh, look, you're showing me some stickers. William Boros. Wolfie does all the instruments and vocals. I'm 51. I'm impressed. Oh, cool. Access 2084. Or rather, 1987 Rock and Roll Caravan. Sheesh. When did you get old? The years bleed. They do into each other. And remember, you process time faster as you get older. And that's the bad news. There's more bad news. And Danica, too loud, honey. Autistic daughter, so I'm trying to tell her that I'm doing a live feed, but that doesn't mean anything to her. That's a complex thought to her. So, yeah. What were we talking about? 73 Trans Am. No, 73 Camaro. I think I got it for $2,500. And the Trans Am I think I paid $66,900 for it in 1981, 1980. Might have been 1980. I remember it was walking distance from our house where we bought it from a secondhand lot. It was only 3 years old. And I was just, I'd always wanted a Trans Am. And now half the people think they're wonderful cars and collector cars, and the other half still look at them as gaudy cars, just like, ugh. It just depends. I'd like to get a 71. That's what. Your best concert? Iggy Pop was the best performer I've ever seen. He opened for the Pretenders. I was there with my friend Steve, and we went free from the 2 critics for each big paper in Edmonton. Helen Matella, and I forget the other girl's name. Yeah, so we went with them. We weren't dating them or anything. And they said, do you want to come? And I said, yeah, let's go. And Helen had just done a story on me not that long ago, so I knew her. So the Pretenders were good, but Iggy Pop, I mean, we were also in the first row. I mean, it might have been on the second row, but I think it was the first row. And here's Iggy Pop, like right there. And I'm not a huge Iggy Pop fan, but man, he was unbelievable. Best performer I have ever seen. It's not fair because if you're in the nosebleeds, it's a completely different concert to if you're in the, like the Doobie Brothers, I was in the first 8 rows. Ask me tomorrow, I'll say 5th row, 13th row. I don't know, I was really close to the stage. And I got lots of pictures, mostly of John McPhee. I couldn't see Michael McDonald. He was on stage, but I couldn't see him from where I was, which was the pits. Okay, I'll ask some questions now. I'll answer some questions. What do you have to say? Kiss 1978 in Connecticut was a favorite concert. Cool. You guys give me your favorite concerts. Well, the first I ever went to, I was 10. You saw Kiss when you were 10. You're cool. I switched from drums to guitar after that. Dude, love that. I would have loved to have seen Kiss in their heyday. I would never go see Kiss now, but I would have loved to have seen them. I'm glad Paul Stanley, switched gears a little bit, or as he put it, changed lanes a little bit, went out of his lane. Good for him. Had an 81 Berlinetta. Yeah, the Berlinetta was the more classy looking one. That was, I always noticed that. Trans Am, Firebird and Camaro had like their Rally Sport, their Berlinetta. There was so many different versions, the Formula. There was so many different versions of it. I could talk cars all day. I could always tell the year of a Camaro or the year of a Firebird. Near the end of them making Trans Ams and Z28s, there's a guy at the end of the street who's got a Z28. I'm not sure what year it was, just before they stopped making them. And you can't even tell it's a Z28 unless you come right up to it. It says Z28 in black on a black car. And it's really classy looking because near the end of them producing those cars, the Z28 and the Trans Am from the Camaro and the Firebird ended up looking kind of gaudy. little, typically, like everything inside was big and stuck out, like balloonish. And when they brought it back in what is it, 2010, the Camaro, it was really classy looking, I thought. Some people didn't think that. What have we got here? Mel O'Brien went to the police picnic in Toronto, was there to see the Talking Heads. We stayed for the police, and they were excellent. Joan Jett got belted off stage. I think it was 1980. Oh, pelted off stage. What happened? Do you remember? Do you know what happened? Tell us. David Robertson. Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe in 1989, my first. Wow. William Bowers. Kiss scared me at first. Chase, can you tell Mom I'm not done? She can't call me or else it'll interrupt the feed. Tell her just to drive home. Oh, she's still working. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. But just tell her she can't FaceTime me. Saw the police in 82. The takeaway from that show was that Stuart Copeland looked terrified while drumming. Really? Wow. He was the only one that was semi-nice. Andy tried to pick up, was flirting, well, I don't know if he tried to pick up, he was flirting with my girlfriend, who later was my wife, Lynn. I'll never forget that. I think she had red hair, so he was talking about her hair a lot. And Sting was just being incredibly crude. Again, if I met Sting today, I'd probably think he's the nicest guy in the world. He was young. Glenn Campbell in 1969 was my first concert. Wow. I never saw Glenn Campbell. Declan Hughes, Roxy Music in Dublin, Ireland, 1982 and 2001 on their comeback tour. Two of the best gigs. Please tell me my daughter didn't, she's autistic. She sometimes pulls her pants down too fast when she goes to the bathroom. She's autistic and she's not underage. She's 22, but sometimes the other day we were doing a live feed and she starts. So if anybody saw something, let me know. I'll look at the film after. I'm going, oh no, I'll get demonetized. This live stream is really exciting to me, William Burrows. You find it exciting? I haven't had coffee. I haven't had anything that would excite me. I don't know. The thing is, after you do a few live streams, you're just kind of like, you don't want to be too formal when you're doing a live stream. I'm very formal when I do my presentation sometimes. And I certainly don't want the live streams to feel like that. As we're looking at Patreon, we're looking at having some of you guys, if you want to join our Patreon, to, once every Friday, just all sit down and talk together. We can see each other. I don't know. I get overwhelmed when people say, why don't you do Patreon and get people to donate every month and the different tiers, and I go, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do that. The only thing that I would like doing is the live stream. I think that would be fun, where you'd go, hey, what's going on? Let's just talk about anything, whatever you guys want to talk about. So I'm glad you find it exciting. Thank you. Top 40 Hub. When I saw AC/DC open for Aerosmith in 78, that was an AC/DC oh wow moment. Bon Scott and Angus Young. Wow. Yes, 78, that would be Bon Scott. Glenn Campbell was a member of the Wrecking Crew. He was. This stream rocks. Toots! Okay, what I'm going to do then, and I'm going to kick it up a notch when I'm doing my live streams. Just bring, so obviously you guys didn't see any butt. But wait, when she was turning the corner over there, I always forget to, because she's just my daughter, and she, it's all just us here, unless she's turning the corner, pulling them down before. That's autism for you. That's what happens. And that's the kind of entertainment you get on John Beaudin's live stream. I'm Casey Kasem. Thank you, Axis 2084. Whew. It came so close the last time because she was just turning around and it just hit me. Oh God, she does that. And I turned around going, no, because she's just doing it around the corner here. Because this is our, the main floor is always the most used. We have 3 bathrooms in here, 2.5. And the main floor one's always the one that's used the most. We have this huge room upstairs where Chase does, it's basically his room. You know, he works with me. He bought himself a nice big screen TV. He bought what's that gaming system you bought, Chaser?
PlayStation 5.
What is it?
PlayStation 5.
Yeah, he just bought himself a PlayStation 5. You know that big, crazy looking thing? It looks like a modern art building. So he earned that money, through working with us. And he bought that for himself. And that's the room above the garage. You know, basic houses, they're all the same these days, you know. The middle class family house. So he's got this big room that's the size of a 2-car garage up there, and he basically uses that. It's his room. We bought this house because of that room, because it has tons of windows all around it. And we thought our autistic daughter would like to do therapy in there. We thought it's a perfect room to do therapy because it's bright and she'll like it. And she has lots of room because she likes to stim. She goes back and forth in a room and just walks back and forth really fast sometimes. She scares the dogs. Hi, Danica, we're talking about you. She just did this. But she never used it. She was more interested in just being down here at the table. And she does crossword puzzles all day. And I'll show you. She's 22. She looks much younger, but Danica, say hi. Say hi. Hi, everyone. Say hi to Danica. She's there, and she does her stuff all day. There you go. And that's my house. Steve says, just stop at 7. I have to watch hockey. I love you guys. Toots, I like to rock. April Wine. I like to rock. You have to watch it on YouTube, right? Because if you start singing, you'll get demonetized or something for copyright. Rick Beato talks about that an awful lot on his streams. But he's musical on his streams, right? And he plays pieces of music. And he always says, I'm not making as much money as people think I am. If he plays music in every stream, he's certainly not making as much money as people think. But I look at him, he has over 1 million. Doesn't he have 1 million subscribers or something like that? He's doing really well. We haven't even reached 100,000 yet, so. Oh, Casey Kasem, yeah. I learned to talk and inflect by listening to Casey Kasem and Gary Owens on Laugh-In. I'm Gary Owens, you know. That was my era. I'm 61. I grew up with that kind of stuff, right? Roger King, speaking of Tom Petty, the Grateful Dead and Dylan at the Akron Rubber Bowl from the 80s. Wow, cool. Teddy Bates, the Journey saga proves that the Twilight Zone is real. Celia Tiglau? I'm new to this channel, thank you. But I subscribe to your channel because I love the Eagles so much, especially the Randy Meisner. Love this guy. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? Never did I know that the Randy Meisner interview, which is rare, you know, an interview that long. I know I'm one of the longest Randy Meisner interviews on the internet, not only YouTube. I didn't know when I was interviewing him that somehow that would end up being, I think in all we got 1 million views for that whole series if you count up all the different views. Maybe not. I think at least 750,000. I haven't looked in a while, so I don't know. And little did I know that would be a launch board for this channel and a launch board to me talking to Bernie Ledden of the Eagles and to talking to Glenn Fry's brother, Alan. I just talked to him like 2 days ago. Because by the way, the Glenn Fry special's coming up on, is it HLN this weekend? About Glenn dying. Watch it. Oops, I just hit my tripod. John Beaudin's drinking again. No. So Alan let me know, and just talking to people who are in the Eagles family. I was told 3-4 months ago that Don Felder wasn't doing interviews for a few months, so I'll have to check in with them because I'm in close contact with the people who handle him because I get a lot of my interviews from them. I'm good to them, they're good to me, so we have a mutual thing going. So Celia, thank you, appreciate that a lot. William Burroughs, first concert, Climax Blues Band in my school gym. Really? Couldn't they get it right? Oh, couldn't get it right. Wasn't that the Climax Blues Band? The Bubblegum Tour, believe it or not, 1978. Wish it was Hall & Oates. Yeah, Hall & Oates. Typical blue-eyed soul, the good stuff. Could have been Hall & Oates. Could have been 79. Axis 2084. Hi, Danica. Thank you. Declan. Back in the 1980s, we had two huge radio stations in Dublin. One was called Radio Nova. Oh, I didn't know you named your stations like that. And they had Casey Kasem's Top 40. The hits get bigger as the numbers get smaller. I'm Casey Kasem. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Oh, soundtrack of the 60s. We used to, I'm not sure if it's CFRN or 14 CFUN that played that Gary Owens show. It might have been 96K, like CKRA that I worked for. I forget, someone played it at the station I was at in the early 80s. William Barrows, hi Danica. Yes, I got that. Toots, I saw Kim Mitchell in Moncton, New Brunswick. Haywire was opening. Remember Dance Desire? Haywire? Dance Desire. Their freaking lead singer, I don't think I've ever known his name. Man, he was a good singer. They were from PI, yeah. They all look completely different, but of course they do. How many years has it been since the 80s, right? I recently saw a picture of him and I went, wow, he looks completely different. And if you looked at a picture of me from the 80s, I had long hair too. I didn't have the facial hair, but I had quite long hair. Then my hair started receding because, of course, my hairline used to be there like everyone's, right? And I thought I looked silly with receding hairline and long hair. And it was still quite low, but I went, nah, you're trying to stay young. You look foolish. Where am I at? We're completely off topic, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I don't know. I'm 59 and live in Montreal as a kid up to age 9. I lived in Montreal until the age of 7, till 1967, the age of Expo. We moved away to New Brunswick in a French community because we all spoke French back then. I can't speak French anymore. Teddy Bates, have you seen the new Tina Turner doc? It's amazing. I have not seen it. And is it true she's sick? Is that like clickbait or is that true? I haven't clicked on it. People say she came to North America for her last visit. I don't know. Seen Bryan Adams at a ski resort 1 year before he broke out. Wow, 77 or 78. Well, in 79, when I went to Edmonton, moved to Edmonton, he was still playing hotels in 79. There was this big hotel. I don't know if it was on the way out of Edmonton towards the airport or CFRN or the other direction, I forget. Randy Meisner, Try to Love Again, Take It to the Limit, my fave Eagles songs. Yeah, I had his first 3 solo albums. I loved his voice so much. He just needed better people around him. When I talked to him, he had a lot of regrets about, he didn't regret leaving the Eagles. He regretted getting into a fist fight with Glenn Frey. And then I asked Bernie Ledden about dumping that beer on Glenn Frey's head. I think Glenn might have liked to joust a little bit. William Barrows in Pittsburgh. David Robertson, great gigs I saw in the early 90s. John Martin, yeah, we lost him. Level 42, Moody Blues, Yes, Seal, Prince, Public Enemy, Duran Duran, U2, Genesis. Wow, you saw a lot of the similar people that I saw. For me back then, it was Tom Petty, The Cars, Foreigner, as a Canadian, Prism, Tom Cochran, April Wine multiple times, Triumph, Genesis, twice, Billy Joel, Elton John. I've got a list of all the people I've seen. Gary Owens laughing. Yes, William. Oh, I don't know what my favorite bands would be. We just did a thing on famous. Our writer, he's not been writing for us for a few months because we're backlogged with the stuff he wrote for us. Our writer for Rock History Book, the other channel, which where we go top 10s of this, top 10s of that, he wrote a biggest Chicago bands, and then He did biggest horn bands, and we're going to do that on the other channel. It's just so much work putting those videos together. I mean, the last one got over 100, I think 116,000 views. So we should do more of those. Oh, William Borrow's Hall & Oates and Poison together on the same bill? Or are you saying your favorites? Excuse me. Hall & Oates didn't tour with Poison. Did they? Did they ever do a show with them? Or you're talking favorite shows, right? Love your recent Brian Keith Lukather interviews. He's a great interview. Don't understand why they aren't even bigger in the U.S. Well, they're legacy or a legacy band that releases new music, which is great, and their new music is really good. I mean, Total 14. I don't know if they'll ever top that as far as this. Well, era, that was a different band back then. Pretty Maids in a Row, yeah, toots. Love the Eagles. I Am Mantis. I'm 63, John. We had bands every third Friday in high school. Really? Man, that would have been so cool. I would have loved that. We had like a band from, I think they were from Nova Scotia, Molly Oliver, I think. I'm friends with one of the members on Facebook. Linda Graham. I met Brian Adams at Harrods in London. Nice guy. Oh, is that right? Does he still live in London? He lived in London for a while. Brian Keith. Cheap Trick. Cool. Marty Martin. Who did he say was sick on last trip to America? Oh, Tina Turner. Okay, hold on. I gotta give my daughter her medication. Is it 5? Chase, you're gonna have to give her your phone because I'm using mine to stream. Wait a second. Chaser? I gotta give medication for seizures. Thanks, Chase. Here you go. Thank you. I'm coming back. Do not adjust your set. There you go. Thanks, Danica. You have to go get Chase's phone. Yeah, go get Chase's phone. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Chase. Chase, you want to say hi?
Not really.
He's shy. It was Tina Turner, by the way, yeah. So I just saw that. It was a London paper, and they have their versions of the National Enquirer. In some cases, they're worse. But, well, no one's worse than the National Enquirer, are they? So I saw that, and I didn't click on it because I went, is that clickbait? I don't know. Don't get me started on Billy Joel. What do you want to say? Come on, say it. Say it. Billy doesn't suffer fools in interviews. Billy sounds like he's an alcoholic. Elton John certainly said he is. I Am Mantis, A Foot in Cold Water. In the Morning Light. Flood. I tried to get, what's the name of the last Pilling brother who's still alive? Is it Brian, or which one's the lead singer, the blonde guy? I tried to get him, but to no avail. And I think his son or his nephew tried to set it up. Triumph, Saga, Trooper. Marty Martin, thanks. Linda, William Burroughs, my favorite band from PA, not a show, In My Dreams, a show. What? What? Was that a band, In My Dreams? Access 2084. Was lucky enough to see Stevie Ray Vaughan in 1990 in Bristol, Connecticut. He was awesome. Never saw. I'm not been a fan. I'm more of a fan of bluesy kind of guitarists like that now than I was then. I shook James Brown's hand. Saw James Brown. I was given a choice: see James Brown or B.B. King. And I went, nah, I got to see James Brown. So you ever been to a James Brown show? He goes around the audience and shakes hands, and he's got the MC guy, James Brown, Mr. James Brown. I'm going, it's so cool. What a legend. What a legend. The concert promoter I just talked to had worked with James Brown an awful lot, and worked with a lot of performers who were legends who would sometimes ask for more money just before the show. Chuck Berry did that. He is famous for saying, I'm not going on stage unless you give me more money. Well, we've agreed on an amount. Get on stage. But, yeah. And then once Chuck Berry, it was James Brown, who was at a hotel room. It's in his book. And anyway, he was supposed to stay one night and do the show. And then a week later, he's still in the hotel room, and there's this huge bill, and James Brown is at the front counter, and he calls the concert promoter saying, "Could you come and hold on? I can't say the story unless I grab the book. I gotta at least grab the book because we're gonna release this." Can you see it there? Yeah. So we interviewed Danny, and he talks about James Brown being at the hotel room, and he's telling James Brown, he says, "But you've been there for a week. I only paid for one night." And he didn't bail him out. He had bailed him out in certain situations before. He said, he says, "I don't know how he paid," because sometimes you go, "Well, I don't have that kind of money." Because people always look at old rock stars and say, "Well, you must have the money. You're James Brown." No one knows what's going on. A lot of people live beyond their means. Why can't rock stars, especially rock stars sometimes, right? Again, I was talking to David Knopfler and Phil Gould at the last two interviews I did. They were both, I know I did Jim Mastia yesterday, the original Boston drummer. That one's going to be, and I just talked to Fran Cosmo today, who replaced, we were texting back and forth today. And Fran's working on some stuff right now, and he says, "John, let's do the interview a little later, a few weeks or a month or something." That's what I'm guessing. He didn't say, because I thought he just said, "Let's keep," because he emailed me, he says, "Well, let's keep in touch." I went, "Well, you're not answering my question. Like, are we going to do the interview or not? If you don't want to do it, it's okay." But he was very nice. And I'm a big fan of Fran Cosmo's, what a voice he had. And I love when him and Brad were together on stage near the end there. That was really, really cool because Brad, it's hard to sing Boston songs and it's so heavily layered on the album. How can you reproduce that, right? I think that's why some people complain about early Boston shows because you can't, that's so much studio trickery from Tom Scholz on those albums. So anyway, we're going to have Fran Cosmo on in the next little while. We've got so many things in the works, but until it's confirmed, I don't usually say I'm going to get it for sure. But these all look good. And Jim Mastia, I'm not sure how he says it. He explained it for me. He has a lot of hard feelings about, tough stuff being kicked out of Boston when you created all those drum parts. Nothing against Fran. Not Fran. By the way, Fran Sheehan doesn't have internet. That's what Barry Goudreau told me. I'm going, what? And I know that he has some muscle problems that he can't play bass the way he could before. Oh, she's not done yet. So, but yeah, Sib Hashian. Basically, the legend is he came in and played it very similar to the way that Jim had played the drums. And Jim does play drums on Rock and Roll Band. And in the interview, Jim says that Rock and Roll Band's basically about him. So he makes a lot of claims, and I'm not going to take sides. I ask a question, you answer it. If Tom Scholz hears this interview, and I'll say this when I present it, if you have a different story, you come on down and talk to us. Because, I'm not going to dispute the fact that it was mostly Tom Scholz. But Jim says he was a big part of that too, So here we go. I met Elvis in Waikiki Beach. What? In 73? Just the facts. Wow, that's some facts. Top 40 Hub. Mellencamp song, Ain't Even Done With the Night video is James Brown, like complete with Cape. Oh, okay. Access 2084. My old band manager and I ended up with VIP tickets to Ozfest in summer of 2001. Met a lot of people, watched the latter parts of the show in the bandbox. Wow, with Linkin Park, Disturbed, Papa Roach, Brian Keith. Where does Steve Smith rank on your list of favorite drummers? He's never been in my radar until he started doing the drumming videos and stuff. And when Chase, I knew about it when Chase was 9. He's 17 now. I'd seen some of his workshops. I'd never been there, but I saw the videos for some of them. And I started going, oh. I mean, you never want to say he was just a drummer for Journey. I always knew he was a very good drummer. But then he started doing all this other stuff. So he's not in my radar. Simon Phillips, Jeff Porcaro, Roger Pope, Elton John's drummer, was one of my favorite drummers. I thought he was amazing on Blue Moves. Then I like guys who keep it straight, like Nigel Olsson. I still think he's an amazing drummer. Nigel was the perfect drummer for Elton John. Who else? Bill Bruford, big fan. Jerry Mercer of April Wine. He's one of my favorite drummers of all time. Amazing drummer. He was in Mash McCann before April Wine. So thank you for asking me that. I appreciate that, Brian. William Burroughs, not a Hall & Oates Poison show. Do you have favorite Philadelphia bands? I don't know. I couldn't even name anybody. Just the facts. Love Fran, met him in '94. He did a video promo for the band I managed. Oh, cool. Top 40 Hub. John, you got to watch the Chuck Berry movie with Keith Bridgers. Hail, hail, rock and roll. Crazy trying to keep Chuck interested and in time. Chuck had some issues, man. I mean, the fact that for the show, you'd say, I want more money. They don't do that. William Burroughs, Billy Joel. Only reason he's not on the charts today is because he stopped writing new music. I don't know if he'd be on. Well, no. There was a time there where older acts weren't coming back on the charts. But then in the last few years, older acts would come on the charts and hit number one. There'd be a few of the classic rock, classic bands. But for a while, that could never happen because Elton John, when he stopped having hits around that time, older acts stopped having. And Elton John wasn't doing the hits kind of stuff anymore anyway. You know, when he had that run of top 40 hits for so long. I'm still not convinced that Billy Joel can't do it anymore. There's a possibility he's not doing it because he can't. It'd be like the Beatles releasing Free as a Bird. It'd be like the Beatles coming back. Well, Free as a Bird was an anomaly because it was an old John Lennon song. But, George, Paul, and Ringo got on it and finished it. But we were so starving for the Beatles. But if that would have been an album of songs like that, then they would have tarnished the Beatles' legacy, I think, a little bit. Well, no, you can't really tarnish the Beatles. The Beatles' legacy is just too strong. But if they were all together still, I went through so many feelings of the Stones still being a band after all those years. Now the last maybe 20 years, I'm just so happy they're still here. And getting into their stuff. I mean, when you look at the Rolling Stones, my God, Some Girls is their biggest selling album. That's insane. Some Girls is my favorite Rolling Stone album. But I found it, I thought, what? I have all those clouds. Danica, honey, too loud.
Yeah.
Phone at 6?
Yeah.
Oh, she come to see us. Okay, you're being, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Yeah. Can you see yourself?
Hey.
Oh, you hear? Yeah, I know. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah.
Love you too. Okay. Someone had to watch a hockey game, so I was supposed to cut it short there 12 minutes ago. Hold on. Oh, I got so many comments I got to read here. John Sykes doesn't have the internet either, and neither does what's his name? What band was it that didn't have another guy I just interviewed didn't have the internet? Oh, John Woloschuk of Klaatu. One of the main guys in Klaatu. When they all had big parts, but D. Long and John Woloschuk, and then Terry Draper too. But the other two guys John Woloschuk just didn't have. I said, let's go on camera. He said, no, can we just do it on the phone? Oh, okay. You got to watch. Okay, John Sykes doesn't have the internet either. I have a video the day I met Elvis on my channel. Really? Okay, I gotta watch that. William Burroughs, Billy Joel, the only reason. Okay, anyway, Alex Van Halen, underappreciated in your opinion? I think so. I mean, that hot for teacher intro, that's crazy. Bill Bruford is a colorful character, nutty like a drummer should be. He was. I interviewed him and he was. He made me a little nervous. I never get nervous in interviews. I mean, if you watch any of my interviews, you can tell I'm not nervous. I just don't get nervous. And unlike before, I used to get really nervous. But Bill Bruford made me a little nervous. He didn't do anything to do that. I just got a little, I thought, oh God, I'm talking to Bill Bruford because I'm a drummer. And facts, where's the video? Oh yeah, yeah, just the facts. Can you put the link on here? You can do that. Darren Raff, you're so wrong about what? Huh? Okay, hold on. There. That user has been banned. Darren Raff, I don't know what he's up to. He's talking tomfoolery. Malarkey! Tomfoolery! Hi, Danica. Hey, cutie. Herman Rareball put the... I don't know what you're talking about. Billy Joel has a motorcycle business in New York. I didn't know that. Everyone's saying hi to Danica. I love Brian Jones, Rolling Stone. Yeah, that was sad. What a weird story that was. Drowning. Then they thought it was murder. Access 2084. After being in the business 30 years, even a small way, I can see why people walk away for good. I'm retired now and prefer my privacy. Yeah, I hear you, man. Well said. And that's why when people ask me, oh, so-and-so's retired, why don't you contact him? He'll talk to you. And 95% of the time, they're wrong. That they don't want to talk about their old songs anymore. They've done 1,000 interviews. They don't want to go back and do it. And then you'll get the 5% who would love to have someone talk to them about a career they put a lot of themselves into. But it's you know, a lot of them don't want to. Oh, Declan. Hi, Danica from Ireland, Danica. Tora Parko. Hi. How's it going? One of my favorites. The Stones' last song, Living in a Ghost Town, was pretty good. Steven Spencer, any future contact with Randy Meisner? I don't know if I want to. I don't know if he's not doing interviews with anyone, and why isn't he? But Bernie Ledden isn't doing interviews. I haven't seen an interview with Bernie Ledden since I talked to him. And Bernie was great because he let me end the interview. I said, oh, I don't want to take up too much of your time. He says, no, I got to do the lawn. I got to do the yard after this. So, so there you go. Okay. New World Man. Hello, Danica. You'll always get, and people don't realize this, they think they can come on a YouTube channel and just start saying stupid crap. We were doing a live feed, Shannon and I, one night. It might have been the Steve Porcaro live feed or the Henry Gross live feed. You know, Henry Gross, Shannon, the big hit, and Springtime Mama. And some woman kept like just saying the same thing over and over again. She obviously copy and pasted it because no one can type that fast. And just saying crazy stuff. And back then I didn't realize I could just take this and press on the comment and then hide the user forever. Never to be, if I hold on. Oh. Inside Music Cast. Rick Such just contact me. Yeah. Anyone, you check out Inside Music Cast. They do great stuff. I was just listening to their radio station the other day. I wish they had more imaging in between the songs. I like imaging. I'm a big old imaging guy. But I love what they were playing. And I went, I got to listen to these guys more often. I love their interviews. Check out Inside Music Cast. They're a bunch of great, great guys. Ethical, know their stuff. They really go out of their way to push sometimes side people, or they you know what they push? They push people you should know. Check it out, Inside Music Cast. Great guys. No, Randy Meisner is very much alive. Glenn Fry died. Toots, I worked 30 years, power company. I don't really care much for human race up close. And you know what? You're allowed to. Beyond idiosyncratic behavior from people, not even beyond that. If someone's not hurting anybody else, they just want to be left alone. How could that be wrong if that's what you want? I mean, there are people who do that and they're a little kooky, but I think most people who do that are not kooky. They just want to be, Danica, honey, you're too loud.
Yeah.
You're loud.
Yeah.
You happy?
Happy.
You having a good time?
Yeah.
Okay. See, she's not wrong. When you're autistic, you just got these primal feelings. When Danica's, this is what she does all day. You gotta go around and around. No, do more. Hi, say hi.
Happy.
Yeah, autism at its best.
Happy.
22 years of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're sweet. And you know what? I used to work. Another thing I did when my radio job became automated, I thought, well, I've lost half my wage, but I only have to work for 15 minutes a day. This is kind of great because, I'm like anybody who's been doing their job a long time. I'm good at what I do. I can get on there. I usually never make a mistake. I do it on one take. I get into that brain. I can go. You don't go A to Z on the radio. You go from here to here. The rest you don't talk about. This is what they want from you. You do that. Do it smoothly. Put a smile on your face and get it done. So I get it done in 15 minutes. But I lost half my wage, and I went, what am I going to do? I became a mental health care worker. Always wanted to work with mentally challenged adults or kids. And I worked hard to get in. I finally got in, got my ticket or whatever. And once I was in, I started thinking, and in the beginning, I started thinking, man, how can anybody have this burden on their hands of having to raise a child like this? I don't think I'm man enough to do it. And then you work in the job, and then it becomes a lot easier. And you go, oh, they really have they have a special energy to them, right? And you start seeing the shame in people looking at them as less than human or whatever. You go through all those feelings. And you guys know that. You're all adults. But then we had a child like that. And we started realizing that Danica was special in her own way, but was not hitting her milestones, her markers. And then our speech pathologist one day, because she had trouble speaking, which is usually what makes people start looking into their child, why aren't you speaking? And she had her shots, and right after she got her shots, she started showing, and that we weren't never anti-vaxxers, but we kept it in the back of our minds. We went, this only showed up after her shots, but then we went, yeah, maybe that's when it shows up though. And then we just, moved to Calgary from Vancouver. I worked for the #1 radio station, still do. They kept me on. But I knew I'd never. I thought, well, I could never get a better position in that station because I'm voice tracked. But it was so nice that they kept me on. But I was always in the #1 or #2 in my time slot. So I went, they're not going to get rid of me because the show's doing incredibly well. People could say, well, you're working at the #1 station. Of course you're #1, right? And I'm going, yeah, but you could easily, Danica, too loud, honey. Danica, too loud. But you could also bring the station down. If you're underperforming everyone else, you're going to get let go. And I could get let go anytime. It's cool, whatever it is. So, and then when I moved to Calgary, they let me be an announcer, an afternoon drive guy at a completely different company in Calgary. And I'm going, well, that's pretty nice of them. You're going to let me work for another company? Well, I'm in Vancouver working the evening show, and I'm doing the afternoon drive show for another company in Calgary. So they let me do that. And then one day, the program director left, and the guy who was there, Mike Shannon, he says, well, I'm leaving. I said, well, should I apply? And he was very, I just talked to Mike a few days ago. He just lost his job in Prince Edward Island. And he said, well, you should. He said, you know more about this format than anybody else. You should apply. So I applied, and I got the job. And they still kept me on in Vancouver. Here I was, a programmer in Calgary. And then I couldn't afford to hire a morning guy, because the morning guy just left, because then you're dealing with the budget. And then I went, well, I'm going to do mornings. I did afternoon drives. I can certainly do mornings. And I did that for 2 years. So I've basically done every position you can imagine in radio. You know, I started all nights, did evenings, did the swing shift, done mornings, afternoon drive. I did middays in Edmonton for a while, and I did it here. And been a music director, been a program director. Never wanted to be a general manager, so there you go. Joey, hey John, have you recently interviewed Tom Scholz to give him a chance to do a rebuttal on the stuff that Jim told me? Journalistically, I'm going to try because you should, right? Oh, I see you have the Boston logo, Joey. Do you know how to get home? I went into the Boston site. There's nothing there. John, get a chance to check out the band Glitter Dogs. I'll check them out. Hi, Danica. JP Milanos. Listening to you in Pennsylvania. Right on. What's the journey story about? The journey story about, nutshell, okay? Steve Smith and Ross Valerie were sued by Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean because there was a coup going on to try to take over the band's name. This is a Reader's Digest version, so they could have some semblance of a retirement. So they sued each other, and now, as of today, they released a statement saying, we've reached a settlement, where we're all happy, which usually means that Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain, the Journey side, gave them some money, something. We're never going to know what that amount is, and we're never going to, that's probably part of the agreement, but they probably got some money. And in the statement, some other statement, Steve Smith and Ross Valerie basically said, we wish our former bandmates success and everything. I'm paraphrasing. So that's it. And everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke because I think that people expected Peace and Journey to be some kind of weird thing, but it's not an April Fool's joke, nor should it be. I wish them all luck. I mean, I think Neil Sean plays guitar a lot. Neil Sean likes to be on stage, as he should. He's the main guy there. I interviewed Jonathan Cain, 2 years ago? He was such a nice man, easy person. The only trouble I had with him, he said fake news at one point. I said, man, I've been a journalist for, at that point, 36 years. I said, we hate that term. I have a friend who got beaten up, in California over someone saying that to him when he was doing a live broadcast, He didn't really beat him up. He pushed him over while he was doing it. People hate that term, man. He didn't really say much about that. I spent time in Calgary, 87, 88. Good times, right on. I was in Edmonton then. Toro Porco. I like saying the usernames. Joey Moss was a great example of the special qualities of it. Yes, well said. And we just lost him. Paul Hayden, have you interviewed Roger Waters? No. I just interviewed Pablo Cruz, and one of their singers played with Roger. I just interviewed Paul Carrick, and he was he toured with Roger Waters as well. And who else was it? Just interviewed someone else who toured with him. Oh, and I just interviewed Lee Harris, who was in Pocketful of Secrets tour with Nick Mason, and he had a chance to meet Roger Waters and David Gilmour on another occasion. Toots. The Stampeders Inn had an interesting basement bar in Calgary. I don't remember that. I don't know if I've been in the Stampeders Inn. I just reached out to Kim Burley of the Stampeders. I asked him to be friends on Facebook. He accepted it, but I don't think he's seen my message yet. I want to do an interview with him. I'm friends with Ronnie King of the Stampeders on Facebook. I asked him for an interview, but he just put his back out a few months ago, so I'll reach back. I'll circle back, as they say. Pink Floyd Echoes. I was a big Pink Floyd fan. There's albums that it took me longer to get into. For instance, before I got into Animals, I got into Amagama, and Ultimate Classic Rock just named Amagama the worst Pink Floyd album. But it has Careful with That Axe, Eugene. Come on. That's the song where you want to put someone in what? Remember, I told you before it happened to me. My friend Kendall Howard, who I moved out to Edmonton with, said, "Hey, lay down the bed, man. Listen to this Pink Floyd song." It had big speakers in there. And I went, cool. It was 78, I think it was. I hadn't heard it. And he put Careful with That Axe, Eugene on. And, the screaming in. I was reaching for the lights. Oh, Roger King. Yeah, how about Paul Roberts from Sniffin' the Tear? I was just talking about Sniffin' the Tear with Noel McCalla, who was there. If you look at the driver's seat video, the background singer is Neil McCalla, who played with Mike Rutherford on Small Creeps Day. So he's very animated. I've never tried to look him up. Paul Roberts. Yeah, I forgot his name. I couldn't have told you his name. He looked like an older man when he was young. He just had that older man look. It's not his fault. Some people sometimes you'll see an actress on stage and you go, I can't tell what age she is. She's got a classic look. You can't tell. Cool. Thank you, Roger. Access 2084. According to Weird Al Yankovic, the word Amagama is ancient alien language for help us. We need ideas for songs. You happy? I don't smoke, but sometimes I get probably allergies. Oh, scantily clad women. A friend told you, did they? Haha. Used to be a place in Edmonton we would frequent because I come from a small town, northeast New Brunswick, where women dancing on a stage was, there might have been places, but I never even knew there would have been back then. So when we moved to Edmonton, I remember a few of our friends said, well, let's go see them. And it was such a weird feeling looking at them, because you're raging hormones. I was 19, you're still raging hormones. Saying, this is such an abstract thing. Like I've seen it in movies. I knew it existed, not naive, but you're right there. And it was, I remember weird. I'm going, oh, so this is not as sexy as it's supposed to be, I guess. It's a visual thing, but I remember my feeling was, oh, and my ex-wife, who was my girlfriend there, she didn't care. She said, well, go ahead. I don't think she was crazy about it. Just watching them dance. I remember thinking it's hard to have a conversation with someone when this is happening right there. Like what? Huh? William Bowers. Some Philadelphia bands, Hall & Oates, Todd Rundgren. I love Almost Human. Is it Nearly Human or Almost Human? Taylor Swift. Chubby Checker, Jim Croce. Someone told me recently I should talk to Jim Croce's widow. Frankie Avalon. Oh! Yes, and who's the guy I interviewed who was played with Frankie? They lived in the same neighborhood. What's his name? He almost died. He got a liver transplant. I think a heart transplant. What's his name? Philly Boy. Was in that movie with Anne Margaret. Help me out here, guys. Fresh Prince, Christina Aguilera, Pink, Poison. Never liked Pink. Never liked her music. Never. Not a big fan. I think she'd be interesting to talk to. Access 2084. When I saw Pink Floyd in '87, my seats was right in front of the backup singer. Wow, really? The Zodiac Bar in Chatham had a big show in the 70s. Did they have those kind of shows? Toots, did they have those kind of shows? I'm curious. I didn't know, because I was 19 when I was still when I left. I was 19, so I could have gone into one of those places. State by state or countries. We've already, like I said a while ago, we started doing one with Chicago. So we'll start. It's a good idea. I'll see how it goes. I'll see how the Chicago ones go. With things like that, it almost has to be salacious to get hits. I hate to say that, and I don't want to get, like I've said this many times on live broadcasts with the other channels, Nail Sheet, which is the entertainment channel. We're still not sure what direction we're going to take that in. I've got time. This channel makes money, so I've got time. And Rocky Street Book makes money. And together, that we're doing okay with those two. The Canadian channel, we know what we're going to do with that. It's all Canadian rock and roll. Bobby Rydell, thank you. Boy, it was Bobby Rydell. I talked to Bobby for over an hour, and how he first met the Beatles on a bus, thinking, well, that's a strange name for a band. Bobby Rydell is one cool guy. I was honored to have, because he did Volare in 1960, and it started with that because I went, I want to see who were the people who were on the charts when I was born, and he was right up there. And I went, I'm going to talk to Bobby Rydell, and of course we talked about Rydell High in Greece and wet T-shirt contest, yes. They let you in when you're 15. Did I ask you this before, Toots? Have you walked that bridge? I walked it twice. One way and then back the other way. That bridge still scares me a little bit. It's a very, very high bridge. I had an incident where I was at a friend's place where I almost had a panic attack because I'd never been in a penthouse suite in years. And he said, come to my penthouse suite, it'll be fun. He wants to show it off. And I was up there and I kept looking over the edge. And I don't know why I was doing it. I couldn't figure it out. I'm going, what the hell? I used to live on the 22nd floor. What am I doing that for? So I kept looking, and I didn't realize I was stressed out as I was. I wasn't aware where I was on that scale. And I realized after that, in hindsight, that I was actually going through a very stressed out time. I was just almost used to it. So I started imagining jumping off this building. It was crazy. I've written articles on this. And then I went into the washroom, sprayed my face. I'm going, what am I doing? This is crazy. And I kept doing that. And Dale, my friend, kept laughing at me. He thought it was funny. And I said, I got to get off here. And he said, no, let's just go in. So we went in. And I kept looking through the patio door. And I went, I can't do this. I don't know what's going on. I've never had a panic attack in my life. And that's the only time it happened. So, and I kept having flashbacks of it. And then we finally went to a restaurant. I said, I got to get downstairs. And then he's still laughing at me. And I had to later tell him, Dale, that was probably one of the scariest, if not the scariest moment of my life. And our relationship kind of dwindled after that. I remember going, I don't know why he doesn't get that. What, is he taking it personally that I didn't want to be in his penthouse suite? But, yeah. So, right after that happened, I went to New Brunswick, Toots. And we were just going across the bridge, and I remember having that same, not a panic attack this time, but I remember feeling really weird up on that bridge so high. It's an incredibly high bridge in Northeast New Brunswick, everyone. And then we went across to PEI on that bridge, and I drove, and it was hard for me. And then, so through the last 10 years, I've had to beat that out of my system. Slowly walking over bridges, slowly doing all that stuff, and I'm going, oh, I've never had a phobia in my life. And I don't anymore. I'm fine now, but there you go. Celine Dion has a new album. I did not know that. Alan Legier was the bouncer. Really? Alan Legier killed those people? Wow. Okay, hold on. That's Hell Frozen Over Iron Maiden. We had Toad's Place, the Agora Ballroom in Connecticut when I was growing up. I was way too young to get in. The channel in Boston was my first club experience. Love the place. Hey there, Richard Kenmore. How you doing, bud? Nunya Binis. How about a report and update on Canadian Rockers Honeymoon Suite? Well, just interviewed Honeymoon Suite. Derry from the band. And Derry's daughter, who's a great musician. Man, her music is good. Crazy. Roger King. Speaking of, new album from Dion. Sorry, I missed the context there. Yes. I tried to get an interview with him via Joel Diamond. I actually got into Apple computers because Joel Diamond, who's been in the industry forever, and I did an interview 2 hours, maybe 3. And in the interview, he froze, but I could still hear him talking, but his thing froze on my PC. And then I went back and looked at the footage of Joel Diamond, this big industry guy, talking about Tony Orlando and Dawn and all the big artists he had worked with. And he looked like not a Muppet, but he looked like what do you call those blue people? Those cartoon figures. They just did a movie on them. Anyway, he looked blue. And I went, oh my God. Now with color grading and different things, I can change that. So I got to look up that interview. It was a very good interview. Anyway, I just asked him for an interview with the Dion, but that didn't come through. He says, I'll let you know, John. Smurfs, thank you. Linda, thank you. I appreciate that. I walked under the Centennial Bridge on the catwalk drunk after midnight. Oh my God. Really? Toots? Crazy. I forgot to ask, are you still there? We might have had this conversation, but I talked to too many people. We are in New London, and there's a bridge there that goes over the highway. It's a weird design that flexes. Oh, wow. Really? Roger King, LOL. No, Dion. Yeah, the Belmonts, yes. Toots, we used to hug the train bridge at Beaubears Island. When I went back, I went to Beaubears Island. By the way, Toots is from the same area I'm from, everyone. Northeast New Brunswick. Barry Bowman, I hate spiders. Linda Graham, Smurfs, thank you again. Toro Porco, Dion plays great blues. Yeah, I'd like to get an interview. It's not the lane that we do on this channel, but I like to go out of that lane sometimes. One of the first things I learned on YouTube, don't always do the same thing. Get out of your lane a little bit now and then. Give them something a little different. For us, it turned into interviews. It wasn't always interviews, but for us, that's what it turned into. William Barr's panic attack. Every time I'm in a store for more than 20 minutes, it makes me a shut-in. You and your channel really help with my depression. I can't believe I'm talking about it with you. Thank you. I appreciate it, William. Everyone's got something. Don't you realize? Well, no, not you realize. I know you realize. But we all see as you're getting older, there's one thing that it happens with the trajectory of people's lives. Usually you get less drama. Usually people just aren't bothered by the things that used to bother them, or else they're bothered by them a lot more as they get older, like when they get into the 80s and stuff like that. If you are scared of the dark, you might have not necessarily night terrors, but you might get some of that stuff. One of the reasons I started meditating like crazy in the 80s is because I couldn't take it. I was going through divorce, going through other breakups, and I told myself, and I didn't drink at all. I didn't take any substances. I couldn't drink. I'd get migraine headaches. And, a lot of people lose their migraines after 50. It just happens. And so I did that. And now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing I have to meditate more too. Because I can be on this computer. Yesterday I was finishing, and I'll finish it tonight, the Little River Band. That's 18 videos of juggling B. Birtles, Graham Goebel, and Glenn Shorrock together. And just saying, okay, not all the clips have to be connected to each other. They could just be random things. And the biggest one is at the front, where you talk about Cool Change or Home on Monday or whatever it's going to be. Hold on a second. Is she coming home? Yeah. Okay, tell her not to call me. I'm still on. Oh, she's coming home.
Yeah.
Phone at 6. Danica watches Barney videos and Disney videos
Yeah.
and The Wiggles
Yeah. Yeah.
at 5 and 6. I've always, what I wanted to do with the John Beaudin channel, because I owned the John Beaudin channel on YouTube. There's only 2 videos on there, one with skunks and one with Chase and I think Chase is 8 or 9, looking at a tornado coming in. You can't really see the tornado, but you can see the tornado. What happens before tornado clouds can be seen? Just big, dark blue, almost black clouds coming in. And what I wanted to do with that channel, and it's been suggested to me many times by people saying, because you're so psychology based and like to talk about the human condition, why don't you just go on there?
Myopia.
Why is that, Chase?
Myopia.
No, I'm not finished yet. Tell her I'm going to do it for another 10 minutes. Unless it's an emergency, she needs me to talk. Shannon's coming home. It was her day off, but she ended up working. That happens with her job sometimes. Oh. Anybody with Macs ever have a problem where you plug in an external hard drive and all of a sudden it's not recognizing it? Then you have to plug it in the other side and then all of a sudden it recognizes it? It's crazy. I had that problem today when I was doing the LRB stuff. Okay. Recap the big Journey news. Steve Smith and Ross Valerie, there was this quasi-coup of trying to take over the name so they could have some semblance of retirement.
Myopia.
So Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain sued them and started suing each other back and forth.
Myopia.
And the word was Steve Perry was on the side of Steve Smith and Ross Valerie. So anyway, what happened is they reached an agreement today that everyone's happy now. We're not suing each other. And there was a mother statement, mother, where they say a lot of pleasantries, where basically said that we've reached an agreement, everyone's happy. I'm paraphrasing. And then there was a statement from Ross, not necessarily a direct quote, Ross Valerie and Steve Smith wish their former bandmates all the luck in the world in continuing with Journey. In other words, they're not coming back, but we knew that anyway. Randy Jackson and Narada Michael Walden will be in the band, replacing them. And so that's basically it. And then Journey say, well, we're looking forward to continuing touring and making new music. So they're happy and there's less drama and it's good news. I don't get off on some of the people who do what I do, who, see bad news and go like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do obituaries and some months we make way more money on obituary, but I don't go around saying, "Oh, I hope people die." I hate doing obituaries. They've got to be done. That's as big of rock news as you can possibly get when someone passes away. But I don't get when people look at bad news and stir all their videos to like gossipy stuff. So there you go. That's it.
Myopia.
Nova, there you go. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that guy as well. I don't say his name on anyone who turns off their comments when they're throwing stones. To me, is a coward. And don't get me wrong, there are people who when we had Andy Scott of Sweet on, if anyone commented on his hair and would say, "Oh, that's ridiculous" or whatever, I take off those comments. I remove those comments. I'm not going to have someone comment on a guest of ours on the way someone looks. I mean, I've heard stories through the years about people going after Ann Wilson of Heart. Ann Wilson's heart's always been beautiful. I don't care what size she is.
Myopia.
She's allowed to, just imagine if Ann Wilson was allowed just to be whatever size she wants to be and just enjoy her life. What a concept that would be.
Myopia.
When I heard stories like that, even from her, it just broke my heart of going, that woman has given so much, always been class, So there you go.
Myopia.
I'm gonna ban that username, by the way. So don't put that username on my. I'm gonna use those 3 words together and and listen. I think he's trying to make a living. God bless him. I'm not a religious person, but I'll say it. Yeah, but when you turn off your comments and you do controversial videos, that does make you a twat. So that's ridiculous. My God.
Myopia.
Danica, that's too loud, honey. See, it just pisses me off. Meditation and psychedelics supposedly put your mind back into a childlike state. I found when I did meditation, I've said this on one of my last podcasts, not meditation, but positive thinking with my meditation. Too much positive thinking all the time. I went 1,000% into, I know that doesn't make sense, into meditation to a point where I wouldn't let anger in. If someone cut me off, I'd go, oh, God bless him. I know he doesn't, it's not personal. Then I got into a relationship and I lived with a woman for 2 years and she triggered me on so many things. And she was probably the most irrational person I'd ever met in my life, even though she was so beautiful in so many other ways. She was just funny and everyone who knew her loved her. She was very quirky though. And then, so all of a sudden, Mr. Positive for the last 5 years ends up living with a woman who just triggered him so much. And it was just a totally unhealthy relationship. And I'm not taking all the blame. I mean, she had a lot of issues, but so did I. Like attracts like. And so all that positive, not thinking about anything negative, just blah, right? And she had enough blah to go around as well. So sometimes when people, and I said this in the last thing, when people, you can't go 100% into the positive thinking thing and bless everyone all the time. And, you know, at that point, I stopped reading all the new agey books that I was reading. I just kind of going, oh, you got to balance in there's no balance in what I was doing. So I got deeper into meditation and stuff, but not doing the positive thinking stuff. We've just recapped it. They've reached a settlement and it's all good. And Steve Smith and Ross Valerie obviously got some money. And so they released a statement within the statement that said they wish Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean best of luck. But they're not in the band anymore. CBC turned off the comments in their videos. There used to be a commercial for Winners with this kind of office type. She's an actress. I've seen her in a few things. She's really good. But she played the typical not office, character. I don't want to get demonetized. And I remember thinking, I'm going to say something because I can't stand that character in that Winners commercial. It's ridiculous. And I went to say something and they turned off on the Winners site, YouTube channel. They turned off the comments because obviously they were getting a lot of people thinking that person was obnoxious. I've never met Brian Wilson. No. Thanks, Bill Mullins. I appreciate that. In the last 5, just to Bill, how important you are and how I appreciate you doing that. In the last, I think 5 live feeds we've had where we're just talking about a main story, but then just shooting the you-know-what at the end of it, I've gotten no new subscribers. I'm going, well, this is crazy. Our channel gets 100 subscribers a day, and it does. But none when we're just talking, and I'm going, well, maybe that's not what people want. But we get, like, right now, there's 69 people watching and talking to us. And I know a lot of people just like to be a fly on the wall, and that's okay if you're watching us right now and you don't, but we will mention you if you talk to us. Nova, thank you, John. I count on you for real commentary and true observations. I appreciate that. We just don't like to look at the worst of people on this channel. It's so easy to sling, man. It really, really is. But the majority of the people that I've interviewed in the last 7 years, well, I've been on radio 38 years, so but the last 7 years for these channels, I interviewed a lot of people. But specifically for these channels, I've not had a lot of bad experiences. A few people are late sometimes, and they're always so apologetic, right? And I've never done anything about Mike Oldfield except a few people who've worked with him, like Simon Phillips. like David Henschel, the producer, worked with Simon, and he David Henschel said one day they'd worked on something, and they worked on it, you know, this arduous song that was difficult to put together, and then the next day David Henschel came and he had erased it all. And Mike Oldfield's that kind of character. He's got idiosyncrasies, I think, you know. I mean, to come up with Tubular Bells. And Simon said that he didn't like Moonlight Shadow at all, you know. He didn't like that hit. Don't stop believing, baby. Mike Patrick, you tell him, buddy. Tora Porco, you like the antidote? Thank you. I appreciate that. Barry, Giddy, interesting channel. Thank you. Jim, just subscribe. Is it Paquit? TDS, I've been watching for the last 10 minutes. How did I get here? Journey, out of court settlement. Everyone's happy. Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean against Steve Smith. And I'm getting tired now. Ross Valerie. They've reached an agreement where chances are the Journey guys that are still there, Neil and Jonathan, gave some money to Steve Smith. I mean, it has to be that. And Ross Valerie, because they were looking for some semblance of a retirement. And then the lawsuits were dropped, and Steve Smith and Ross Valerie inadvertently just basically said, we wish them well. Shannon's home. Never interviewed Paul, anybody from Annville. William Barrows, Johnny Kane, Johnny Kane, Tommy Shaw, James Young are awful backstab. Okay, well, I don't know that. Toots, there's my dogs. I'm just here to hear about the 80 Trans Am road stories, John. LOL. Well, when I was in Newcastle, when it was called Newcastle, there was a dealership. The bus used to pass by that had Trans Ams. I remember. Might have been a Chevy dealership though, with Z28s instead, and you know the F-body, the second model they had, until they came back in the 80s, in the early 80s, with the new model. Oh my God, Jeff Johnson, your dogs just triggered my dogs to bark. Yeah. Not Greg Raleigh. Yeah. I'm getting my members mixed up. I just contacted, I think it was Greg's wife, Ross Valerie, Greg's wife, to get an interview with him. Because Lori, who was just on here, she does a festival in Ontario, interviewed Greg Raleigh's wife. Dennis DeYoung was robbed. How rude. Well, it kind of looks like that. But Dennis DeYoung, I think they were so happy to have Styx without Dennis. I mean, we don't really know what goes on, right? I mean, again, no one really knows what happens. We just hear about stuff. One guy, it's like the Jim Mastia stuff. I just interviewed Jim Mastia, the original Boston drummer, yesterday for, God, an hour and a half. And people are going to listen to Jim, and mostly, I warned Jim, I said, most people are going to listen to your story. You're going to think you're crazy. But you need to tell your story. And we'll invite Tom Scholes to come on. I says, Tom, if you think this is baloney, we'd be more than willing to have you on the show or give us a statement. We'll reach out to him if we can. But you never know what's going on. So here's Jim saying, I worked on all those Boston songs. And then the majority of people who worship that album and think the story is, it's all Tom, could very well be Tom. We've always heard it was. We'll find out. Love Life, Barry Giddy. Sticky Tape Records. Hey, welcome back. Tales from the Band. Yes, got me to meditate. Oh, cool. Feeling confident. Yogi from John Anderson. Well, John Anderson talked about, when he talked to us, Chase's mom home. Okay, guys, I gotta go. Tell her, give me 60 seconds. Shannon, I don't know why Shannon's all dressed up. I don't know why she doesn't want to come. Anyway, Ted Templeman, no, I'd like to though. Thank you everyone for keeping me company. I was taking a break. I wanted to talk about the journey stuff, but I gotta go. I've been on for an hour and a half. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourself, okay?